The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Karam Yoga, Chapter 6, Non attachment is complete self abnegation. The second point to consider is what is the end of work? We find the vast majority of people in every country believing that there will be a time when this world will become perfect, when there will be no disease, nor death, nor unhappiness, nor wickedness. That is a very good idea, a very good motive power to inspire and uplift the ignorant. But if we think for a moment, we shall find that on the face of it, that it cannot be so. How can it be? Seeing that good and evil are obverse and reverse of the same coin? How can you have good without evil at the same time? What is meant by perfection? A perfect life is a contradiction in terms. Life is itself is a state of continuous struggle between ourselves and everything outside. Every moment we are fighting actually with the external nature, and if we are defeated, our life has to go. It is, for an instance, a continuous struggle for food and air. If food or air fails, we die. Life is not a simple and smoothly flowing thing, but it is a compound effect. This complex struggle between something inside and the external world is what we call life. So it is clear that when this struggle ceases, there will be an end of life. What is meant by an ideal happiness is the cessation of this struggle. But then life will cease, for the struggle can only cease when life itself has ceased. We have seen already that in helping the world, we help ourselves. The main effect of work done for others is to purify ourselves. By means of the constant effort to do good to others, we are trying to forget ourselves. This forgetfulness of self is the one great lesson we have learnt in life. Man thinks foolishly that he can help and make himself happy, and after years of struggle finds out at last that true happiness consists in killing selfishness, and that no one can make him happy except himself. Every act of charity, every thought of sympathy, every action of help, every good deed is taking so much of self importance away from our little selves and making us think of ourselves as the lowest and the least, and therefore it is all good. Here we find that jnana, bhakti, and karma all come to one point. The highest ideal is eternal and entire self abnegation, where there is no I, but all is thou. And whether he is conscious or unconscious of it, Karam Yoga leads man to that end. A religious preacher may become horrified at the idea of an impersonal God. He may insist on a personal God and wish to keep up his own identity and individuality, whatever he mean by that. But his ideas of ethics, if they are really good, cannot be based on the highest self abnegation. It is the basis of all morality. You may extend it to men or animals or angels. It is the one basic idea, the one fundamental principle running through all ethical systems. You will find various classes of men in this world. First, there are the God men whose self abnegation is complete and who do only good to others, even if at the sacrifice of their own lives. These are the highest men. If there are 100 of such in any country, that country need never despair. But they are unfortunately too few. Then there are the good men who do good to others so long as it does not injure themselves. And there is a third class who do good to themselves and injure others. It is said by a Sanskrit poet that there is a fourth unnameable class of people who injure others merely for injury's sake. Just as there are one pole of existence, the highest good men who do good for the sake of doing good, so at the other pole there are others who injure others just for the sake of injury. They do not gain anything thereby, but it is their nature to do evil. Here are two Sanskrit words. The one is pravritti, which means revolving towards, and the other is nivritti, which means revolving away. The revolving towards is what we call the world, the I and mine. It includes all those things which are always enriching that me by wealth and money and power and name and fame, and which are of a grasping nature, always tending to accumulate everything in one center, that center being myself. That is the pravritti, the natural tendency of every human being, taking everything from everywhere and heaping it around one center, that center being one's own sweet self. When this tendency begins to break, then it is nivritti or going away from. Then begin morality and religion. Both pravritti and nivritti are of the nature of work. The former is evil work and the latter is good work. This nivritti is the fundamental basis of all morality in all religion, and the very perfection of it is entire self-abnegation. Readiness to sacrifice mind and body and everything for another being. When a man has reached that state, he has attained to the perfection of Karam Yoga. This is the highest state, the highest result of good works. Although man has not studied a single system of philosophy, although he does not believe in any God and never has believed, although he has not prayed even once in his own life, if that simple power of good actions has brought him to that state where he is ready to give up his life and everything else for others, he has arrived at the same point to which the religious man will come through his prayers and the philosopher through his knowledge. And so you will find that the philosopher, the worker and the devotee all meet at one point, and that one point being self-abnegation. However much their systems of philosophy and religion may differ, all mankind stands in reverence and awe before the man who is ready to sacrifice himself for others. Here it is not at all any question of creed or doctrine, even men who are very much opposed to all religious ideas. When they see one of these acts of complete self-sacrifice, they must feel reverence towards it. Have you not seen even the most bigoted Christian, when he reads Edwin Arnold's Light of Asia, stands in reverence of the Buddha who preached no God and preached nothing but self-sacrifice. The only thing is that the bigot does not know that his own end and aim in life is exactly the same as that of the worshipper from whom he differs. The worshipper, by keeping constantly before him the idea of God and a surrounding of good, comes at the same point at last and says, "Thy will be done." and keeps nothing to himself. This is self-abnegation. The philosopher with his knowledge, seeing that the seeming self is a delusion and easily gives it up. It is self-abnegation. So karma, bhakti and jnana all meet here. And this is what is meant by the great preachers of all ancient times when they taught that the world is, God is not the world. There is one thing which is the world, another thing which is God, and this distinction is very true. What they mean by world is selfishness. Unselfishness is God. One may live on a throne in a golden palace and be perfectly unselfish.